Okay, so I wasn't really expecting my last video to do numbers, and while I was reading the comment section, I started noticing that, yeah, Pokemon might be doomed. Whether or not we're gonna get remakes or Gen 10 or side games that Game Freak are developing right now as we speak, who knows? I mean, at this point, the obvious is gonna happen. It's gonna be not a flop, but a lot of fans are going to be very pissed off. Have we not learned our mistakes? And as a business, you know, that's what Game Freak cares. That's what the Pokemon company cares only. You got to understand one thing. You, the consumer, if you bought Pokemon games and you think they're bad, I mean, you have the right to complain. I have the right to complain because I buy Pokemon games expecting them to be good. And turns out that another game in Nintendo not only does way better numbers, but it also performs very well. And I spend more time playing other Nintendo games than Pokemon, which is something I would have never thought I'd be saying in 2023. It's crazy. But guess what? I don't know what to title this video, but I'm going to say, you know what? Pokemon stands are delusional. And we're going to knock out some of these topics or some of these things that people have been saying lately that kind of grinds my gears. Let's start with the first statement. The statement is Pokemon is fine just the way it is. Is it? Let me tell you something. Let's talk about Nintendo companions or counterparts. Mario reinvented itself and has been phenomenal. Metroid has been phenomenal. Reinvented itself a couple times. Been phenomenal. Kirby. I'll tell you something about Kirby. Kirby knows how to remake their games and put in way more content than one would expect. Zelda. You know what? Just by looking at this list alone, there are arguably several Zelda games that are here, and I'm going to say it right now. Some of these are going to be arguably the greatest games of all time, not just within the Zelda franchise, not just within Nintendo, but arguably the greatest video games of all time. Reinvented itself multiple times, and it's always been phenomenal. You can't point at anything at this screen and say, "Oh, Zelda has a bad game." No, it's just impossible. But why does Pokemon? Why does Pokemon get away with all this nonsense? What has Pokemon done to reinvent itself? Going from 2D to 3D? As we all can see from the latest video games that they've put out, it's been more of a miss than a hit. What about open world? Yeah, you can argue open world was something that's been desperate. Something desperately needed in the franchise. However, again, with all the technical and graphical errors and bugs and software problems, I mean, it clearly doesn't make any sense as to why that has been successful for them. It clearly hasn't, based on user ratings, user reviews, and overall criticism of the game. That doesn't just come from me. It comes from people who buy these games, who put in $60 to buy games that are supposed to be good. Not be fixed later, not be patched later, but they should be good day one. All right? And now we're going to go over the next statement. And this is the one that I really, really get upset about. Oh, but the games, they sell 22.5 million copies. And I'm using that number because that's based on the current sales numbers that have been brought out by Nintendo. And yeah, if they're selling 20 plus million copies within the first 6-7 months, then clearly that means the games must be good, right? No. What kind of fucking logic is that? Let me put an example out there. Say if I invented a car, right? Let's say I invented a car that looks good, performs good, and I sell 10 million off the dealership lots. 5-6 months down the road, there's recalls, there's problems under the hood. It's been reported that this car has been involved in several fatalities because of mechanical errors. Does that mean the car is good? No, motherfucker. It means that the car that you bought, you're going to go back to the person who invented it. It's the same logic. Why is it that Pokemon or Game Freak or the Pokemon company themselves get away with this nonsense? It's because you put money in their pockets. And granted, some of you guys might be shills. Some of you guys might be oblivious, blind, whatever it could be. as long as you keep fattening their pockets, they have less incentive to change. If they're making $1.3 billion annually from these games alone, you know what they see? Well, shoot, maybe we're making a ton of money, so we don't have to develop anything. You know how that change, quote unquote, that little change you want them to do, it's not going to happen as long as you keep putting money in their pockets. At the end of the day, it's a business. Do you know how to affect the business for them to change their very core fundamentals? You got to hurt their pockets. You got to stop buying the games. You got to get refunds. And don't even get me started with, the money aspect too, which is a very dumb argument from the beginning. But also, let me put it to you this way. The fact that Nintendo themselves, within the first week or two, issued an apology from the way Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was launched, the way it was, and offered refunds to people. Offered refunds for a sorry-ass excuse of a product? I mean, at this point, if you're just denying all this, then I don't know what to tell you. And then I'm going to say something else. The games look good? Well, clearly not. There's plenty of examples of what happens when you give out a bunch of crap like that. But when it comes to Pokemon has a lot of problems. Fundamentally, have a lot of problems. Whether it's the transition from 2D to 3D, whether it's the graphics themselves, the textures don't look good, starting back from Generation 8. I have a small theory here that ever since Pokemon has landed on the Switch, yes, they sold a million, 20 million, 40 million copies, but unless you are a hit like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Legends Arceus, the mainline series themselves, the actual cash grabbers, they've been flops. From a user perspective, I'm not saying from a business perspective because that's a pretty dumb thing to say. Because obviously they're making millions. That's how they make these games. But you want change? You want Game Freak to listen to our opinions? Gotta hurt their pockets. That's just the only way. A conglomerate, a financial juggernaut that is Pokemon themselves. And like I mentioned in my previous video, people will slap Pokemon on a pile of shit, and guess what? People will buy it. People will sell and people will buy it. It's just that crazy. And I know Pokemon is a beloved franchise by millions, if not billions of people around the world. But until you, as a consumer, decide to stop buying their games, it's just we're going to keep rinsing and recycling the same repetitive mediocrity for years to come. Don't get mad at me when Black and White remakes are trash. Don't get mad at me when Gen 10 remakes or Gen 7, 8, 9 remakes or new games come out and they're just garbage. But hey, I'm just one person out of a billion on this planet. 7 billion, 8 billion, whatever the number is nowadays. You as a consumer just gotta listen. And you Pokemon stans, just get your head out of your ass. It's time. Don't tell me what you're seeing in front of your screen right now. You know what? I'm going to say this right now. You cannot sit there, turn on your Nintendo Switch, go to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and tell me the game looks good. You can't say that with a straight face. So, there you have it. Just something to get off my chest. I don't know if it's like a rant or not, but you know what? It's time people just got to shut the hell up and don't be shills, don't be stans, don't be cocksuckers. It's your boy Franklin signing out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to look at my previous video that I've been mentioning, it's going to be right here. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.